up on CTV News tonight, a closer look at quake-damaged AMI Stadium. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Kenetta Knight. As CTV News reported yesterday, after months of speculation, the state of AMI Stadium was announced yesterday. Emily Cooper has more from the announcement.
Yesterday's announcement put to rest some speculation that's been hanging over AMI Stadium since February's earthquake. Although the announcement answered some questions, it brought up many more and left even more unanswered. Engineering reports were finally made available, which show that the 4 stands at the stadium suffered different degrees of damage. Councillor Sue Wells spoke on behalf of the council and reiterated the fact that the announcement was just a progress update. The Headley stand will have to be demolished, and she says the council is still not in a position to say if the rest of the stadium will be the same.
The complex as a whole, we are not yet in a position to say whether or not the entire thing can or will be rebuilt. What we can say for sure at this stage is that the Hadley stand, our engineers have recommended its demolition. We are still discussing that with our insurers, but we are moving closer to a shared understanding of that matter.
You don't need an engineer to tell you that the stadium has suffered serious damage. The council's now deciding whether the stands could be or should be repaired.
There has been liquefaction around the ground, primarily around the outside of the ground, and that's quite visible. There's been settlement under each of the stands. Some of it's been differential settlement, so that means that the stands haven't moved consistently down. They've gone up, they've gone down, they've gone sideways, and they've tilted. Council is still looking with its engineers at possible options to remediate those stands.
And the council is looking at different options to fix the separate stands that have all suffered different forms of damage.
Some of those options are quite unusual. The Paul Kelly stand, for example, we're looking at an injection underneath the stand to lift it and solidify the ground, which is still prone to liquefaction. That has not been done in New Zealand. It's not been done on the scale that we're able to establish within the world, but we need to evaluate all of those options with our insurers so that we can reach a shared understanding. Similarly, the Dean stand has suffered both settlement and differential settlement. The Tui stand, which is much lighter, doesn't enjoy the same ground treatment as the other 2 larger stands do. Both of those were constructed anticipating liquefaction. They have stone columns which go down 9 metres. Those stone columns performed exactly as they were intended to, and the stands did not fall over. That was the design standard.
Councillor Wells says they're dealing with loss adjusters and insurers, therefore there's no definite time frame. The council says reinsurance may not be practical and they're still exploring the practicality of remediation options. One option the council is exploring is a grout injection technique, but costings still need to be done on these options to weigh up if they're worth it.
We've explored 4 options. For example, if I go back to the Paul Kelly stand, we've explored 4 options, and the one that we've been looking at just of late involves 25-metre piles going down to the Riccarton gravels. They are solid ground, 25 metres down, to penetrate the liquefiable soils. That's a big cost option. And at that point, when you start thinking about that cost, coupled with the damage to the stands, you start thinking, well, is it affordable? And that's exactly the kind of conversation we're going to have with our insurer.
And as for the battered pitch, the council says it's irrelevant if the stands cannot be saved, but they're still exploring options for it. And as for the Christchurch Convention Centre, the council says they're still in negotiations, but their best advice is that it will need to be demolished.
The side of the convention centre, which is nearest to Peterborough Street, is the one which has suffered most of the liquefaction damage. The side which is on Kilmore Street is around about 100 millimetres towards the river. It's not safe for people to enter the convention centre to do full assessments. Our engineers are recommending its demolition. We are currently discussing with our insurers a way towards a shared outcome on that matter, and we hope to have further information in that regard in the next couple of months.
This will mean the city will lose thousands from functions previously held at the centre. The town hall is a different situation. The heritage building is in 4 blocks. The whole site has suffered serious liquefaction. At this stage, the council doesn't know if there's a repair option.
If it is able to be repaired, because it is a listed heritage building, to what extent are we going to ruin the heritage fabric which is within the building? That is going to be a complex discussion, and it is one where We're likely to see more reports due out by the end of this year, but it is probably unlikely that we'll have a full and final decision on the Town Hall for you by the end of this year.
And in another blow for Canterbury rugby, it was announced there will be no rugby at the stadium until at least the end of 2012.
The other thing that we need to acknowledge publicly is that we have now reached a position where, with regret, we are saying that we will not be playing rugby here on this ground in 2012. It's obviously very disappointing. We have worked hard to see if we can find a way through this. In simple terms, we can't for next year.
The Canterbury Rugby Football Union says it's exploring other options, which include Rugby Park, where ITM Cup games are played, and other sites of bare land, including land near Riccarton Racecourse. But they are determined there will be games in Christchurch next year.
Utterly determined to have the Crusaders play in Christchurch next year. That's our primary goal. We are still looking at options. Now that we have this news, and we've been working hard with the council behind the scenes to try and understand exactly where things are at, and now the options that we are exploring and the way in which we are trying to ensure that the Crusaders play in their hometown next year crystallised because we've had the news today about this stadium.
Mr Riak says it's not sustainable to do what the Crusaders did this year. He says the bill will be millions to find elsewhere to play, and they need help.
We, the Crusaders, will not be able to play in Christchurch without some help. This is bigger than we can solve by ourselves.
He says their timeline is short and that they need to find alternatives by the end of the month. More reports on the stadium are expected in a few months.
And Pete Smith spoke with Hamish Riak from the Canterbury Rugby Football Union after the announcement to ask what this means for rugby in Christchurch.
Hamish Riak joins me. Hamish, how desperately did you want a yes or no today?
Well, how do you answer that? It would have been nice to have had a definitive answer, but at the end of the day we're dealing with stuff that's right in front of us, and we know we're not here for 2012. We've got that answer. We now need to deal with that, and I guess the final answer will transpire a bit further down the track.
Of course, the trick in that is 2012 can become 13, 14, 15, can't it? I mean, that's the problem. Do you piecemeal something or do you have a crack?
Well, I think what we'll end up doing is finding an alternative that enables us to deliver on having the Crusaders in Christchurch in 2012, and then it'll become clear. I think the council's saying by August or October, or whenever it is, by October they might have an idea of the long-term future here. So we'll know whether we have to be looking to extend it, make it a bit more permanent, or whatever it might be.
Very sombre today, wasn't it? I think there's almost a finality.
Yeah, it did feel sad to me. You know, this has been a fantastic venue, and there's lots of outstanding memories recently, but going back many, many decades. And to be standing here and told that it's on its knees is a pretty sad and sobering message.
You guys have had a year from hell. Financially, how's the union?
No, we're in a pretty poor financial situation. It's been very difficult.
So how much of this can you carry?
Of not being in here?
Of having to shift?
We will need help.
Yeah.
We'll need help.
Where do you see it coming from?
Well, I think there's any number of places, and I don't want to put anyone on the stage and on the spotlight, but what we do know is having the Crusaders in Christchurch next year will be beyond the means of the Crusaders on their own.
Right. Okay, we've looked at some possible things, but SANZA do have very tough rules, don't they, and regulations of how you can stage.
Yes, they do.
Super 15.
Yes, there are certain standards that we need around facilities, lighting quality, the standard of the grass, the number of changing sheds, all of that stuff needs to be factored in.
Now, possible venues that you're looking at, it's really barren land, mate. I mean, it's a huge upsurge. When are we looking, February kickoff?
Yeah, that's right. So we've got a very tight time frame. But there's a lot of infrastructure in the country right now because of the World Cup. So if we can make a decision reasonably quickly and get some of that stuff to stay here rather than, say, go to the London Olympics or wherever else it's next booked for, then there's possibilities in that.
Listening to them, though, talking about, say, Eden Park and when it's established again, a lot of that is already in containers ready to go to the Olympics straight after the World Cup, isn't it?
That's right, but there's a lot of it in New Zealand across the country.
Right.
So while the Eden Park stuff might be going to London, then there's a whole range of other temporary facilities that might be available.
But things like having to be covered seating, etc., would have to be some flexibility in that, wouldn't there?
Yeah, that's right. And we're having fantastic support from both SANZAAR and the NZRU, and if we will need to continue to work with them on the standards, the things that we need, how we might be able to piece this together.
So back to my original question, how far do you go until you know such stages, is this going to be permanent or not?
Well, we've got such a tight time frame to solve 2012. I think we have to work on 2012. And if, as we get through the balance of this year, we see that it might be longer than that, then we need to factor that in. So we'll have to have an open-ended kind of approach, but we have to solve next year. We know we have to solve next year.
The earthquake's not fair on anybody, but
No.
particularly in the case of the rugby boys, where they've just put their shoulder to the wheel and played so damn well, haven't they, for you?
Been marvellous, hasn't it? It was so much admiration and respect for what they achieved through, an extraordinary campaign. But they are just part of this city, and there's a lot of people here who are having impacts and effects that go way beyond, a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon. So we're just, we don't feel we're any worse than anyone else.
Hamish, there's going to be some long days and some long weeks. A lot of work got to go in.
Yes, there is. There's a lot to be done.
You up for it?
Yep.
You're
absolutely.
determined?
Oh, we have to be.
No, you.
Oh, yeah. Me,
determined?
but everybody at our place is up for it.
Great.
It's not one person's role here. Our whole organisation is up. We need to have the Crusaders in Christchurch next year.
We definitely do. Hamish, the very best of luck.
Thank you, Peter.
So there, very sobering, wasn't it? If you'd been here today, we all love the rugby. We all love this park. And when you look at it now, I think 2012 is drawing a long bow to go past that.
Coming up after the break, more Christchurch schools on the move. Welcome back. Many of Christchurch's schools have moved to other sites because of earthquake damage. The badly damaged Marion College has now had to find a more permanent solution.
As with many of Christchurch's quake-damaged schools, Marion College is also moving. And as with the other schools, their previous location at St Bede's College was always temporary.
Well, it's been up and down a fair bit. We've moved over this year since May we were over at St Bede's College, co-locating, and that involved St Bede's sharing their classrooms with us. So we had morning and afternoon classrooms for students. Now that can't continue next year.
They'll now be moving to Catholic Cathedral College on Barbados Street.
This, frankly, was the only other available school. When we discovered that the North Parade site, our normal home for Marion College, was damaged by the last earthquake, the June one especially, and the geotech report said that it was unsustainable to move there for the next 1 to 2 years, we had to find somewhere else, and Cathedral College has agreed to host us here.
Cathedral College was previously being used by St Paul's Primary School. The move will ensure that current split shift days for students who've been co-locating at St Bede's since May will be replaced by a return to a normal school day. More temporary buildings will be put in place so the school can stay there for the next 2 to 4 years. However, eventually they want to return to their home site, as is the case with Avonside Girls High School and Shirley Boys High School.
Well, we're working already to say either we return to the North Parade site, which we'd like to, or if that's unsuitable, then we'll have to look at another permanent solution.
Both schools will remain separate, with the schools on different sides of the site.
Canterbury kids have been battling it out in basketball and volleyball at sports stadiums across the city. Almost 50 teams are taking part in the first ever Canterbury Primary School's indoor sports tournament for Year 5 and 6 students. Samantha Early caught some of the action.
There were plenty of skills and spills to watch at the Primary School's indoor sports tournament yesterday. It was organised by Primary Sports Canterbury, following other successful competitions for intermediate school pupils.
The Year 7 and 8 have been really popular, and schools were asking, well, why can't we have something for Year 5 and 6? So we decided to put this tournament out there. We've had problems with the venues, of course. The volleyball was supposed to be at Cal Stadium, but we have to go to the Lincoln Events Centre for that. And we have full entries.
A full schedule of 24 teams from all over Christchurch took part in the basketball at Spraydon's Pioneer Stadium. The boys' competition was won by Hillview Christian School, with Cotswold School second and Hoonhay School third. The Hoonhay School girls team came first, with Fendleton School second and Hillview Christian School third. 22 schools also played volleyball at the Lincoln Event Centre. Lynn says they hope to hold more Year 5 and 6 tournaments in the future because many other schools wanted to join in.
Coming up after the break, your local weather. Welcome back. The iconic Carlton Mill pub on the corner of Papanui Road and Beeley Avenue came down months ago after sustaining serious damage in February's quake. Now the iconic corner has a temporary pub on the site. Pete Smith went down to relive old memories.
My first beer in a public house in New Zealand was when I was 16 years of age. The drinking age was 21 then, but we had to come to the Carlton Hotel. It was an iconic building on the corner of Papanui Road. Everybody knew it, everyone knew where to meet, and we certainly did. And I'll tell you what, I've larruped a few times from there since I was 16. We've come to the Carlton Country Club now, and it isn't as you know it, Tim. That's basically what they say. But boy, it is quite a unique feature. And where the idea came from, God only knows. But we're going to ask Alec Watson about it. Alec, it's not the Carlton as I knew it, mate.
It's definitely not. No, it's quite different.
Right. We know what happened to the old Carlton. That had to be pulled down. Yeah. Yep. Were you sorry to see it come down?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
What's the birth of this idea, mate?
Well, we were lucky enough to... I was approached by Rob Miller, and he was the previous owner to the current owners of the Carlton, and he managed to get in touch with them and say, well, what's happening on the site? And they have a good relationship, and so the possibility of us coming onto the site came into fruition. And the reason we were looking around for a site was because we'd heard of these boys in Auckland that had this mobile event centre.
Right, tell us about the mobile event centre. This is how you built it. What was it doing in Auckland?
Well, it was based in Hamilton, right. But it's basically a truck, and you can drive it on site to anywhere you like, and it takes about 6 or 7 hours to set it up. And they've been using it for things like the V8s, golf tournaments, stuff like that, but only for a weekend. And we got onto the idea, well, let's take it off their hands for 12 months and put it on the Carlton site.
Now, they didn't want it anywhere else for the World Cup?
I think we were very lucky. We got in nice and early.
Right.
And the possibility of them not having to set it up and take it down every month or every couple of weeks and just plonk it down for 12 months was quite attractive to them, so they agreed to letting us have it.
Alec, it seems to me slow in Canterbury to make some progress, to get some things done. How the hell did you get consent to be able to plonk this thing here?
It's been a long 6 weeks. It's definitely been a long 6 weeks.
That's all it took you?
I've planned before that probably for about another month, but I think about 6 weeks of concerted effort to get this place here, set up and then running. So no, we're trying to do something positive for Canterbury. We're really keen on hosting some charitable events here, raising some money for the Christchurch Earthquake Relief Fund. You know, there's talk of possibly paying our rent directly into a fund like that for the site. So yeah, we're here to do something positive for Christchurch.
What are the hours of trade, Alec?
Well, at the moment, I'm licensed to 11 at night, just because we need to prove that we're not here to, be loud and obnoxious and over the top. So we're just going to build up a good rapport with people around town.
At what time?
We're going to be opening at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, probably 12 o'clock on the weekends.
Right.
But we're looking at doing a container where we can get a full kitchen and then doing lunch service as well.
Yeah. So is there any food at the moment, or?
Yeah, we're doing our food from Spagalemi's,
right,
just down the road. Yeah, and that's working out really well actually.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so people can come and enjoy their really good pizzas.
How many do you get in here?
Well, we're loaded for 320 people, including
really?
the outside area, which is a lot.
Hell yeah.
It's a big operation. I think we would have had maybe 180 people here on Saturday night to watch the rugby, but we haven't actually officially told anyone we're open.
No.
So that's pretty good for,
It's not bad for a secret.
Not bad for a secret. Second night, no.
Well, I tell you what, see, Carlton people find it again, I tell you. They sniff it out. Okay, can we go and have a look upstairs?
Let's do it, eh?
Right, how do we do it? Okay.
Right this way.
Hello, Michael. Now, I can tell you, when I first started drinking here, the Carlton Hotel was very famous for having the only garden bar in Christchurch. Well, we've come a few steps up from the garden bar, Alec. We've got a rooftop.
We've got a rooftop viewing bar now.
And how many do you get into here?
30 people I think would be the most.
And what do you see its purpose? In all honesty, what do you reckon they do here?
Oh, I think it's just a great place to sit down, have a beer, something to eat, and have a look around Christchurch.
Yeah.
On a beautiful day like this. The wind's a little bit chilly, but come summer.
So
it'll
no
be
cover
fine.
on it.
No cover,
What
no.
you see is what you get.
Yeah. Got the umbrellas we can put up, but yeah.
Now this came with the truck, of course.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so this is on top of the truck.
Yeah, this is essentially the roof of the top, the roof of the truck, and all the handrails and stuff we just put up, and up the furniture came, and away we went.
Well, it's just different, isn't it?
It is, it's very different, yeah. I mean, it's got that temporary feel about it, but then it doesn't at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
It's much more than you expect.
I think it could become a part of Christchurch.
I hope so. I really do, yeah.
It's very much, it's not a jack-up, but it's very, very cleverly done. And it's certainly worth a walk into the Carlton Hotel. It's the Carlton Country Club, they call it. But to oldies like me, it'll always be the Carlton Hotel. And this is such a famous sight. Just to see that alcohol's being poured here again, well, it makes me very nostalgic, I've got to tell you. I think back to those days of the garden bar, of the students, of the great big bar that we used to have, and that's where you used to pull the birds. It was great. Well, you still get a chance here to pull a bird, do you reckon? Not me, but I mean, yeah.
I'm sure you could, yeah.
No, some of the young ones can.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so
Definitely.
it's still kept that wee bit of magic, you see, that was here in the old days of the Carlton. Thanks, Alex. Good luck with your trading, mate.
Absolutely.
We'll be back, that's for sure.
Well, it was a very foggy start to the day with a number of flights delayed at Christchurch Airport. That's CTV News. I'm Canetta Knight.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.